Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the TPT podcast. Today, I'm going to be going over what happened in the Cardinals game and looking ahead to preseason game number 3 and what could transpire in week number 1 as the roster is about to be cut down to 53. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the TPT podcast. Well, everybody, the Kansas City Chiefs got it done in a big way versus the Arizona Cardinals as they win big time over there in Arizona. It feels like every time we play there, it's some type of 30 point, uh, you know, point, not win, but they put up 30 points. And the Chiefs just somehow get it done in Arizona as the backups looked really good in this game for the Chiefs. The Chiefs had 3 drives with Patrick Mahomes. Uh, he scored on that third drive. The first 2 drives ended up punt. And some of you Chiefs fans I'm hearing, which I kind of want to get out of the way at first here, is the offense doesn't look very good when Mahomes is out there. Right now, they're kind of just running the ball with Clyde and getting out these little just dink and dunks with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And a lot of people are just concerned about the offense and how the offense is just going to not be up to par. I think the offense is going to be fine, guys. We saw in that third drive, Patrick Mahomes was like 5 of 5 or whatever it was, and then hits Justin Watson in the end zone. So I'm not too concerned about the offense as other people are. Some people have a lot of concerns about receiver. I'm not quite there. Something I'm going to talk about here in a minute about the receivers because I think that's the most interesting group out of all the position groups. But I like what I saw just from the backup quarterbacks alone. Is I put in my notes after the game is the battle for number 2. So I think they're going to keep 3 on the 53-man roster because this season in the prior seasons they had where if you had a third quarterback on that 46 game day roster, it would count against your roster as another skill position player. They're not doing that anymore. So you can have 46 on your 46, you can have that third quarterback just like they used to do 10 years ago. So I think they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the 53 and have that practice squad quarterback if that's all a Doken. And he's played well too. If he's on the practice squad, I hope maybe he goes somewhere else. It could be a backup somewhere else, so it's more of a chance for him to start. But because they've showcased him really well, and they've showcased Shane Buechele. If they're not able to keep Shane Buechele, he has to somehow go on the practice squad. You might as well release him because he will get picked up by somebody else. He's done a very good job. He will go be a backup. Ironically, last year they had to protect him on the roster because of the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals wanted him as a backup, potentially as a starter when Kyler Murray went out. But everyone keeps, on this side of the fence, a lot of the quote unquote Missouri fans, which you can tell who's who when they're kind of rooting for Blaine Gabbert to be the number 2. And some people are kind of rooting for Shane Buechele to be the number 2 because he's a little bit younger, a little bit more mobile. He's a little bit closer to what a Mahomes style quarterback could be rather than Blaine Gabbert, you're a veteran. You're just going to kind of get the ball out. I'm leaning more towards Blaine Gabbert, and I kind of, not that I hate to say it because I think Blaine Gabbert's still a decent backup in the NFL, but Shane Buechele, I really like Shane Buechele. He's a good young quarterback, and I think he can be Mahomes' backup quarterback for the future. But hopefully, he keeps showcasing his talents. He can go somewhere else and be a starting quarterback. But right now, he's kind of just still a backup quarterback. But the only reason why I would put Blaine Gabbert in front of him, if say Mahomes got hurt for a game or was in concussion protocol, God forbid something like that happens, I think patchwork Blaine Gabbert would be a better option because he has in-game reps. I love Shane Buechele, but he doesn't have those in-game reps. Shane Buechele played great. I think he was perfect in the game. He didn't have an incompletion in the game. Blaine Gabbert did great. He had a beautiful route. It was that same corn dog route where Justin Robinson kind of went in and then kind of broke out on his defender, and he was wide open in the back of the end zone, but Blaine Gabbert kind of missed him overshot it, but he was still there. And I kind of want to send that to Eagles fans because it's like that would have been the route right there. And that's how open Juju Smith-Schuster would have been versus the Eagles if he didn't get held. And that's how Patrick Mahomes would have hit him in the end zone. So that was just something I saw in that play. But Blaine Gabbert, I think he's going to be the QB2. You guys can disagree with me if you want. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. But I think Blaine Gabbert, Andy Reid likes his veterans as his number 2. But the only thing I would say if Mahomes did miss, God forbid, a long amount of time, 3 or 4 weeks, Shane Buechele I would lean more towards him because, again, Shane Buechele is still young enough where he's still looking for a starting job in the NFL. Blaine Gabbert notes he is not ever going to be a starting quarterback again in the NFL. He is 32, 33. He's been in the league since 2011. He knows he's not going to be a starter in this league anymore. So he's just going to go out there and he's just going to hold the clipboard, hold that spot till, say, Mahomes gets back if a scenario like that occurs. So I think Blaine Gabbert is going to take that QB2. Moving on to the next position group is the running back group. Generic Prince, again, still did not show me a lot. He just didn't. He didn't show me a lot. Even on special teams, he didn't show me a lot. I think LaMichael Pirine could make this roster over Generic Prince. And you guys may agree with me in the comment section. You guys may disagree with me as you're listening to this. But I think Pirine has taken that step and may be that fourth running back or that third running back to make the 53-man roster. He may be an inactive, but again, at the running back position, things happen. One running back I liked who still looks like he has juice somehow and is in his 30s and is plus 30 years is Jerick McKinnon. He's looking like he is just a perfect receiving back. I mean, he went out there and something I'm going to touch on before I continue to talk about Jerick McKinnon is, I mean, he just gets out in open space. And just one thing I love, it's in open space. He reminds me so much of Jamal Charles. Is he just gets upfield so quickly and he's just so smooth with it upfield. But the reason why he was so clearly upfield is a lot of people's doubt and worry this offseason was the offensive line. Our interior offensive line is great. If our tackles can be close to what Orlando Brown and Wiley was last year, I think we'll have the best offensive line in the league. Because everyone was worried about Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor. Mahomes hasn't been touched. Even on the play where he kind of got pushed out of bounds, the pockets didn't just collapse. The receivers didn't really get open, but the pockets did not just collapse. Like Mahomes was like just sitting there in the pocket for a good minute. Obviously, he got flushed out towards the end, but Mahomes said it like he kind of not like he just likes to get hit in games or stuff like that. In the preseason, he kind of likes to just have that contact. So he's kind of like, I got that first hit out of the way. I'm ready for the season. And some running backs, some wide receivers like that, you don't see too many quarterbacks that are like that, but he kind of likes that initial hit, that initial bump in games to kind of get that going, kind of get himself going. So the offensive line, I think, has played really well. I think in run schemes, they played well. I think Pacheco could run for over 1,100 yards with this offensive line. He's really good in open space, but he's really good in between the tackles. I'm not worried about our interior offensive line in the slightest. Again, yes, we got to see what Donovan Smith is going to be. A lot of people are like, oh, he was terrible at the Bucs, and a lot of my friends here in Orlando that are Bucs fans are like, oh, I'm so glad we got rid of him. He's going to struggle on the Chiefs. He's going to be so bad. I think he's going to be fine. I think our tackles are going to be fine. I think, and you guys can quote me on this, the Chiefs offensive line will be a top 5 to top 3 offensive line this season. Absolutely. I think they will be one of the best offensive lines this season. And Mahomes has had a white jersey. He's been absolutely clean. He really hasn't even been pressured. He hasn't even been pressured. And you guys may say, Jaden, he doesn't eat like he's doing these checkdowns, like you said, or he's doing these run plays. Last game, Seth Kaiser, you guys go check his a lot of his stuff out. He does great stats. He does stuff with RGR football. Go check them out as well. He charted Patrick Mahomes had 18 dropbacks, 18 pass play. So this isn't just check downs. This isn't just him handing balls. These were 18 true dropbacks, 18 plays where, again, he is sitting back there and passing. He charted that, and he found that there was 18 times that happened. And Mahomes was pressured on zero of them. Zero of them. You could say, what about the time he flushed out of the pocket? Again, he had a clean pocket the entire time until he started to run. And again, the receivers just did not get open. But everyone's concerned about the offensive line. I think the offensive line is absolutely fine. I really do not have too many concerns about the offensive line. And again, we'll be able to see. I don't think our first test will come versus Detroit week 1, but running back group looks good. Offensive line group looked good. Now the big group where everyone's been talking about it, the receivers. Who's going to make it? Who's not? I talked about this last week on the TPT podcast. Is the wide receiver group, what's going to happen kind of there with, are they going to keep 7? Are they going to keep 6? Are they going to have 4 running backs? Like what's going to happen kind of there with the running backs and the tight ends? Because that'll determine how many wide receivers you keep. A guy I think who's not going to make this team, and I know he scored a touchdown. I know Mahomes has kind of liked him in certain situations, is Justin Watson. I don't think Justin Watson makes his team because you got to break it down like this, guys. MVS, I think, is going to be the clear-cut leader, number 1. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, that's 3. Rice, I think, is going to make the team. I don't think there's any way a first-round pick doesn't make this team. Rice. Okay. Then you have Ross. That's already 5. You already have 5 right there. Then you have Richie James. I absolutely think Richie James is making it. Then you have Watson. So that's where that 7th one comes in. And Smith looks good. Number 82, Smith, I forget his full last name. I'm sorry if I forgot it. As a Chiefs fan, I should know that. But again, he was on the practice squad last year. There's a couple of these guys that's looked good in preseason. Even Cornell Powell had a touchdown. He's looked good. He's been on the team the last 3 years. So is he a guy that kind of the Chiefs have their eye on, or is he a guy that they kind of either have their practice squad or let go? Kind of like a Derek Dieter, kind of just survived on the practice squad, brought up on the regular season roster every now and then. But I think if they don't keep 7, Watson's on he's a guy on the cuff. He's going to be gone. Because you got to think about this. The other guy next to him is either going to be Rice, which again, first round pick. You're going to have probably Sky Moore, which they're not going to cut Sky Moore, or Richie James. And Richie James has looked really good. So I don't think any of those guys they're going to cut. I think Watson would be that guy that is either, again, they maybe put on this practice squad, but he would get picked up by another team. And now, great for him. And I like Watson. I think he had, 2 or 3 touchdowns last year. He basically had to take the punt returning role and just field punts because they had nobody back there midway through the season. So I like Watson. I just think he doesn't make it. So my official prediction is MVS is your 1. Sky Moore is your 2. Richie James is your 3. I know that's a surprise. Kadarius Toney is your 4. Your number 5 is Ross, and your number 6 is Rice. I think Rice is going to, again, kind of be that Sky Moore guy. He may get a touchdown here and there, but I think he's going to be more that Sky Moore guy where, again, everyone kind of thinks he's going to come to the season and dominate, but I think he's on his way out. And that's kind of where I have the receivers right now. I think Matt Bushman absolutely makes the team on the tight end list, so I do think they keep 4 tight ends. I think Blake Bell's kind of be your fullback, but he'll be listed as a tight end. You're going to have your Blake Bell. You're going to have Matt Bushman, Travis Kelce, and Noah Gray. And I think the tight end room is really good. I think we have one of the better tight end rooms in the National Football League. I think all those guys can get it done. You have your blockers. You have your scores. It sucks about Jordy Fortson. I love Jordy Fortson so much. He's a great story. I don't think he'll be back on the Chiefs after this season. And I like Jordy Fortson. I think he can be good. He's a big, tall receiver, former basketball player. Um, it just sucks he goes down. I mentioned the offensive line. Offensive line looks good. Linebacking group looks so good. There's so many guys that I think are going to get cut that, again, are just really good players and can go elsewhere and make teams because the Chiefs have found a lot of guys have made it really hard. I think the um, the secondary group, the Capriel Boodle. There's other guys out there that again I look at and I'm just like, man, this is a deep cornerback room right now with the Chiefs. A lot of these guys are either going to be on the practice squad, get stolen, or they're going to get cut and go to other teams, and they're going to find a way. I think there's a couple of teams like the Bears, the Washington teams that have Chiefs ties that these guys are going to get picked up. Special teams, I think, is going to be a lot better this year. Well, special teams already looks a lot better this year because you have guys that can field punts. Um, the defense, a lot of people have concern about the defense. Chris Jones, this is something I want to talk about. I didn't get really to Chris Jones last week. Everyone's concerned. Everyone's worried. Chris Jones isn't going to play for the Chiefs this year. Chris Jones could end up playing for the Chiefs the next 2 years and not on a new deal. He is not going to miss out on $20 million this season. If he holds out this whole season, he's going to miss out on $20 million. He's already missed out on a couple $1 million from sitting out of training camp. And I expect him, he may not be back week one, but I expect he's going to play majority of the season for the Kansas City Chiefs. But Chris Jones will play for the Chiefs. And they could tag him next year, and he would still probably play for the Chiefs because, again, you would miss out on even more money the following year being tagged. Um, so again, I'm not worried about Chris Jones on playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just long term. What's the contract going to look like long term for Chris Jones? And the Chiefs need Chris Jones. They do. The defensive line has not looked great. I feel like DK Uzama has made plays. I think he's going to be very good. My prediction is he can get to 3 or 4 sacks. George Karlaftis, I think, can get to 8 to 9 sacks, maybe 10 at his best, but 8 to 9 sacks where I have Karlaftis. I think they do need to go get a veteran and Carlos Dunlap, or go get a veteran. I know Clowney's now off the board, and a lot of you Chiefs fans like Clowney, but their defensive line is looking good. I think they're going to get a lot of sacks this year, not just from the defensive line, but from their linebackers and from their safeties. We obviously know L'Jarius Sneed is a corner that can get after things, and he's a really good blitzing corner. He's a guy next year I'm afraid the Chiefs aren't going to be able to keep. And that's why I think it's so important this season. I know I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but I know it's so important that McDuffie, Williams, a lot of these younger guys kind of improve this year and can kind of take that role. And losing maybe a guy like Snead won't be as a big of a problem. But those are the guys right there. I think there's a possibility they're not on this team next year is L'Jarius Snead. So that's why I think it's a big year two for this corner group. And I mentioned the corner group. There's a lot of guys I think can play on this team or be on the practice squad. If these guys have sophomore slump, you can bring these guys in, plug in guys, or if people get injured, bring in these plug in guys. A guy I think I want to see play a little bit better is Justin Reed. Justin Reed, I know he's a veteran, and I just haven't seen a lot of from Justin Reed, even in the time he has in the preseason. Just haven't seen a lot from Justin Reed. So I want to see a little bit more from him. I think at times he's a great tackling tackling safety, but he's not the best in coverage. Mike Edwards, I think, is going to be great for the Chiefs. Tranquil, I think, is going to be great for the Chiefs. And I honestly, this may be a hot take. I think this Kansas City Chiefs team can get into the top 15 as a defense this year, maybe even top 10. Again, it just depends what Chris Jones brings, what some of these other defensive linemen bring. Like I said, I think they're going to get a lot of pressure, a lot of sacks from guys like Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, Tranquil. I think a lot of these guys can get to the quarterback as well as linebackers. Let me know what you guys think about some of these cuts, about some of these position groups. I'm going to have a full 53-man roster breakdown after Sunday's game versus the Cleveland Browns. I think it'll be a good one. I don't think we'll see Patrick Mahomes out there. I think we're just going to see Blaine Gabbert, Shane Busto, and Chris Olajuwon. I think those are the three guys we're going to see for the Chiefs. I don't think we'll see Patrick Mahomes. If we do, maybe a drive, but I highly doubt we'll see Patrick Mahomes. As we see guys going to get ready to cut this week, it's going to be interesting how this roster breaks down. And week one is right around the corner, guys. Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions, a lot of people that are on that side of the Detroit Lions can put up with the Chiefs. And I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I think the Chiefs can win by 10 to 17 points. I'm not as high as other people are around the Lions. Let me know what you guys think. And another thing about kind of just the NFL and some of these divisions, let me know what you guys think about how some of these other divisions shape up. A team I think a lot of people are just kind of doubting because of the stigma around them and their team. Some people are really high on them and some people aren't. Is the New York Jets. I almost said the New Jersey Jets. I don't know why, but the New York Jets. I think the New York Jets can be a really good team. I cannot wait for week 4, Sunday Night Football, Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers. It's got to be the State Farm Bowl. For some reason or another, they weren't able to ever play. So I think that's going to be a really good game. Some of their sleeper teams I think that are on there that people need to watch out for is the Cleveland Browns and is the Baltimore Ravens in that division. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are for a rude awakening. They split with every team in that division last year, and every one of those teams got better this season or looked to get better this season. They made improvements. Was the Steelers, was the Ravens, and was the Browns. If Deshaun Watson can return to 2019, Deshaun Watson, that team can make a push for the playoffs. You also got teams like the Dolphins who are going to be there. You also are going to have teams like, of course, the Bills, the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's going to be an interesting one. I'm going to be at that game week 2. So look out for a lot of content week 2 from the TPT podcast in Jacksonville for that game. Another news, you have Jonathan Taylor. Where's Jonathan Taylor going to go? A lot of people. He's going to go to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to trade for him. Listen, Chiefs fan, Jonathan Taylor will not be in the Chiefs uniform. In my opinion, I think he's going to kind of go to a Joe Random team, a team where a lot of people didn't see him really going. I think a team that could possibly go get him, but I just don't know if cap-wise it's there, is the Baltimore Ravens. You heard it here first, the Baltimore Ravens in that run scheme, what he could be with the Baltimore Ravens. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below as the Chiefs go into the third preseason game versus the Cleveland Browns. And what are some other teams in the NFL you think are sleeper teams? But my top 5 sleeper teams, I think, would be the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson, the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson coming back at a full, healthy season, the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence and that up-and-coming team. They just added Calvin Ridley. Number 4, I think, again, is going to be a team that people think aren't going to quite be there. That is the Minnesota Vikings. Until the Lions prove otherwise, I think the Vikings, they're still going to have a really good offense, and they're still going to be able to get to 10, 11 wins, would be the Minnesota Vikings. And then number 5, a team that, again, I think some people don't really have as a top-tier team would be the New Orleans Saints. They had a really good drive versus Kansas City Chiefs, but I think the New Orleans Saints are another team that can get back there and kind of really be a good playoff team with Derek Carr and some of those weapons. Those are my top 5 sleeper teams. Let me know what you guys think of my top 5 sleeper teams in the NFL. What you guys think about the Cleveland Browns, Kansas City Chiefs game. Who's going to be in? Who's going to be out for the Kansas City Chiefs? I will see you guys next time on the TPT podcast. I appreciate all of you guys coming in each and every week. We'll have another episode later on in the week, this Friday. What's going to happen with some of these roster cuts? We'll see you guys next time on the TPT podcast.